Hi folks, it's Double Wings. Today first I'd like to pat myself at the back. Since we all know Mueller's report is out, which has proved my prediction correct. There was no collusion at all. Now, in the report there's a question about obstruction. Now, I don't follow American politics that closely, so I don't quite know what that was about. So I went back to look at this issue. The Mueller's report says it neither can prove nor exonerate Trump from this obstruction issue. After some YouTube watching, I realized that was about the firing of Comey, and specifically the next day that Trump gave an interview, mentioned that one of the reasons about firing Comey has something to do with Russia, which is very odd, because I didn't think Trump would be that stupid to openly say in public that he fired Comey because of Russia. So I listened to the interview in its entirety. The gist of what Trump was trying to say is actually quite different from what the media portrays. Now, from what I can gather from that interview, he had already decided to fire Comey. The question was when. What was a good time to fire him? Should he fire him right away, or should he wait till this Russian thing is over? And then he was thinking to himself that this Russian thing could go on for months, even years. As we can see now, it did take almost 2 years to finish this Russian probe. Trump's concern at the time was that if he fired Comey, then there would be blowback, that he would be accused of trying to cover up Russia by firing Comey. So Trump was asking himself, should he not firing Comey until the Russian thing was over? Then he decided against it, because he didn't know when this Russian thing would be over, and he didn't feel comfortable to keep someone that he did not have confidence in as the head of FBI. So he decided to take the heat and fire Comey. So that's the gist I got from that interview. I don't know how the media could spin it into Trump's admission of he fired Comey in order to cover up Russia. I don't think the media people are that stupid. So the only conclusion I have is that the media has sinister intentions. So in other words, another prediction about this obstruction thing is that Trump is totally innocent of that as well. Now, last time I also had a prediction about this Stormy Daniels thing, that I gave the scenario where Trump might not have slept with her. Some people might think that was an outrageous consideration. But let me just give you an example. Say I wanted to run for local mayor, and a couple weeks before the election, some whore came and asking me to pay her money. Otherwise, she would expose me to the media that I slept with her, even though I never slept with her. So what should I do at that moment? So naturally, okay, how much you want? So she said, $50. I use $50 because $50 to me is kind of equivalent to about $100,000 to Trump. And if you want, you can do the math. You might approximate my net worth in the process as well. So, should I drag my campaign and my family through the mud, fighting with her to prove this claim was untrue? Even though I believe in the end it'll turn out okay for me, but my chance of becoming the mayor is going to be seriously damaged. So since she only asked for $50, I will pay her that. I think most people will do that. Everybody will do that. Now, had she asked for $5,000, I might fight with her because, being the mayor is just not that important. I'm not gonna pay out $5,000 for it. But if she only wanted $50, okay. So that's my rationale behind why I believe there's a good chance that Trump did not sleep with Stormy Daniels. Just use common logic. The same logic I used to predict that Trump did not collude with Russia. So my prediction is, if Trump wanted, Stormy Daniels could be found guilty for blackmailing. But I doubt Trump would actually pursue this. Especially now, the main mastermind, Michael Avenatti, is being charged for extorting tens of millions of dollars and is looking forward to go to jail himself. So Trump might just let that go since it didn't damage his chance of becoming the president. But in a way, I hope Trump would take this matter to a conclusion. Because let's face it, it's probably going to come back to haunt him during the re-election campaign. But my predictions are, as of today, that 1, Trump did not obstruct. 2, Trump did not sleep with that woman. Okay, now let's shift the topic to China. Since this Russian gate is over, I think that there might be minute changes in the U.S.-China trade talk. Now Trump's re-election prospect is significantly better. There are 2 routes he might take with the U.S.-China trade war. Number 1, he'll keep the thing as they are now, or settle for a less desirable deal for the time being, but to restart this trade thing after his re-election. A second possibility is also more likely now, that he'll just go ahead and increase the tariff on China, escalating the trade war, willing to take the blow of the economic turndown that could have happened, which would decrease his chance of re-election. I don't advise President Trump to take the second route, but by watching President Trump dealing with the Comey thing, he might just do it on a matter of principle. I don't know which American dimwit still today consider Russia the number one threat, since China is clearly the number one threat. Russia's domestic GDP is only that of one province in China, and China has over 30 provinces. And if the US does not keep China in check and wait till one day China's military might can challenge that of the US, then don't be surprised that the Chinese will have American children for breakfast, literally, or have American women's feet as alternative chicken feet, a famous Chinese delicacy. So my opinion is that if President Trump wanted to take on China during this term, it would be good for the sake of saving the world. But I don't think American people are smart enough to realize that, and they likely would vote him out if the economy takes a downturn. And should there not be enough time to finish the job, I don't think they would care. They would probably say, a Democrat president would finish the job. First of all, lots of Democrats are in cahoots with the Chinese communists. I know at least Dianne Feinstein was. She did harbor a Chinese spy for decades. And her husband has multi-million businesses in China. The main issue is, even if a Democrat president wanted to do it, he would face the same dilemma that President Trump is facing, which is that in his or her first term, there's going to be the same concern about the economy taking a dive if taking strict trade stance towards China. If a Democrat president is elected in 2020, don't expect anything happen in the next 4 years. And if this person wins re-election, there might be a good chance that China will be put in place. What if this next Democrat president doesn't win a second term, and America has repeat one-term presidents for a while? You could theoretically having to wait for another dozen or more years before anything can be done with China. And I bet by then China would have stolen enough military technology, especially high-end military technology, to have an army that is ready to have a war with America. Some folks might say, "Oh, Mr. Double W, you're of Chinese descent. Why would you be so against China?" Well, first of all, I'm a Canadian. I owe my allegiance to the Queen. I swore that on my citizen ceremony, and I'm a man of my words. Secondly, I'm also a member of the free world. I'm far more concerned about people's rights to freedom, to not having to suffer the fear of tyranny, especially me not having to suffer the fear of tyranny, since I spent my youth in that godforsaken country, Red China. I have this understanding to my core how evil that place can be. I still love China. I love its culture. It's probably got the most wonderful culture in the world. But there's none of them left in mainland China today. The culture in China today is Soviet culture. So in a way, China was successfully invaded by another foreign power, so to speak. When you follow history, China was conquered by Mongols, by the Manchurians, and this time by Yellow Russians, who looked like Chinese, but their brains filled with communist ideology. They don't have any care for Chinese culture, these communists. So me, by against the current Chinese regime, is actually doing the most good for China. People in the free world can also forget about the Chinese people can ever know to do the right thing. They are all a bunch of brainwashed zombies by now. They have no soul. I guess that's what atheism does to you. So when the time your loved ones are on the table to be butchered, don't expect the Chinese people will stand up to help you. They'll probably be too busy fighting among themselves to get the best peace. So here are some of my predictions and one stark warning to the Americans and to the people of the free world. Be careful when you're trying to make a deal with the devil. Have a great day.